You wrote a column about what we're about to see. Have a listen to Tucker Carlson on what he had to say on Monday.
As for forcing children to wear masks outside, that should be illegal. Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart. Call the police immediately. Contact Child Protective Services. Keep calling until someone arrives. What you're looking at is abuse. It's child abuse, and you are morally obligated to attempt to prevent it.
Okay, so Margaret, we've spent the first part of this block talking about the battles within the Republican Party. With Tucker Carlson, you have someone from the right who is telling folks around the country to, like, hey, go accost people because their kids have masks on. What is happening?
Well, it's really pretty unhinged stuff. And, you have to understand with Tucker Carlson that this is performative. It's meant to generate outrage. It's, you can't really take it seriously. But as we know, sometimes people do take things seriously. So when he actually talks about going up to people whose children have masks on and reporting them to Child Protective Services, that is really dangerous stuff. And it's irresponsible. It's really kind of wacky. And I thought it was important to point it out because it's so over the top. I mean, Tucker Carlson is pretty crazy to begin with. He says a lot of wacky things, but I thought this took it to a new level.
Well, Margaret, that gets to the next question I was going to ask, because you said it's performative, but is it really performative anymore? Do you get the sense, as someone who has been following Fox and following Tucker for a long time, do you think that Tucker has morphed from performative to actually he believes this stuff?
I mean, I don't know what's in Tucker Carlson's heart and mind. I don't really want to. But so I can't say whether he really thinks this or not. I think it plays with his, group of his sort of base of watchers. I think that Fox News is grappling with what they are in the post-Trump presidency era. And they're all about letting Tucker Carlson sort of say whatever he wants to say. There's no effort that I can see to reel him in.
I mean, Charlie, you spent years on the radio talking to some of the same people in your audience. What do you think? Do you think that Tucker, am I right? Has Tucker morphed from performative to actually believing this stuff? It's so, to Margaret's point, it's so unhinged.
Yeah, well, that may not be a distinction that matters. He may be performing and he may have convinced himself. But the fact is that he's putting these ideas out into the political ecosystem. And with Donald Trump in exile down in Mar-a-Lago, Tucker Carlson is probably one of the most influential conservative voices for that Republican base. So when he begins to play around with ideas like, for example, the replacement theory, that may be performative, but it has real consequences because it is bringing some ugly ideas, ugly notions and attitudes into the political dialogue. And that particular soundbite was so unhinged because, to the extent that Republicans or conservatives claim that their objection to some of the coronavirus restrictions are about freedom, what is the new version of freedom? Call the cops. Conservatives, until 5 minutes ago, were really concerned about government interference in parenting. And now it's like, if you have your child wearing a mask, we're going to be doing it. But, Tucker Carlson is throwing a lot of stuff up against the wall. And unfortunately, you have millions of people that don't know that it's maybe just performative. So it's real. It needs to be taken seriously. The folks at Fox News need to be held accountable for this, because you look at the way the Overton window of acceptable dialogue has shifted just in the last several months, and it is really concerning. The discussions about race, ideas that had been confined to the far reaches of the fever swamps are now on prime time on Fox News because of Tucker Carlson, and this will have long-term consequences for the political health, both of our culture and of our democracy.
And Kurt, I'll give you a quick last word on that point if you want to make one about Tucker.
Listen, we saw on January 6th that these people, the Fox News audience, treat what these people on Fox News say as gospel and Bible. And what Tucker Carlson is doing is inviting a confrontation where some Karen watching his show is going to call the cops on some parent with their child, and there's going to be a confrontation with law enforcement. And we know the way our law enforcement in this country works, that it could get physical, it could get violent, and someone could end up being killed. And if that happens, their blood will be on Tucker Carlson and Fox News' hands. Yeah, and then they'll pretend like nothing ever happened. Kurt Bardella, Charlie Sykes, Margaret Sullivan, thank you very much for spending some time with me on this Sunday.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.